Addiction is one of the most enigmatic and haunting aspects of human existence. It is often defined medically, morally, or socially as a chemical imbalance, a habit, or a moral failing, but these definitions never capture the full depth of what addiction truly represents. Addiction is a philosophical problem because it exposes the profound tensions within human nature, the conflict between desire and reason, between immediate gratification and long-term goals, between freedom and compulsion. At its essence, addiction is a struggle over who we are and who we want to be, a conflict that plays out in the deepest recesses of the mind and the body. Philosophers have long explored these tensions. Aristotle described akrasia, the state of acting against one's better judgment, knowing what is right yet failing to do it. Addiction is perhaps the most extreme manifestation of akrasia, the relentless pursuit of something that promises pleasure or relief but ultimately brings suffering. It is the triumph of short-term desire over long-term intention, a vivid illustration of human vulnerability. Yet, addiction is not just about desire, it is about freedom itself. If our choices are shaped by neurochemical impulses, if our brains are wired to crave certain substances or behaviors, can we truly claim to be free? Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre argue that we are condemned to be free, that every action is a choice, yet addiction complicates this assertion. The addict is both choosing and enslaved by their choice, caught in a paradox where autonomy and necessity collide. In this tension, we see a fundamental philosophical question: what does it mean to be free when freedom itself feels fragile, negotiable, and at times unattainable? Addiction is also intimately tied to human suffering and the quest for escape. Viktor Frankl, in Man's Search for Meaning, suggests that suffering without meaning can destroy the human spirit. Addiction is often an attempt to fill a void, to numb existential pain, loneliness, trauma, or the pervasive boredom of modern life. It offers temporary relief, a fleeting sense of control, yet it deepens the emptiness over time. This cycle mirrors the broader human condition, the struggle to find lasting satisfaction in a world that offers none inherently, the tension between desire for pleasure and the inevitability of suffering. Addiction reveals that the human quest for meaning is fragile, constantly tested by our impulses and the temptations of immediacy. Society, culture, and power dynamics further complicate the phenomenon. Addiction is never solely an individual problem. Economic inequality, social isolation, cultural pressures, and systemic oppression create environments in which addiction thrives. Michel Foucault would argue that addiction is entangled with power, reflecting how societies control, shape, and discipline desire. The addict is both responding to internal drives and negotiating external pressures, navigating a complex interplay of self and society. In this sense, addiction is not just a personal failure. It is a mirror of the structures and contradictions of the world we inhabit. Yet, amidst the despair and suffering, addiction also illuminates the human capacity for resilience and transformation. To confront addiction philosophically is to confront desire itself, to examine the forces that shape our choices and reclaim agency over our lives. Recovery is not merely a medical or behavioral process, it is an ethical and existential journey. It is about rebuilding a life in which choices are guided by meaning rather than compulsion, about cultivating the self that can act in accordance with long-term values rather than fleeting impulses. In this way, addiction can paradoxically become a teacher, revealing both the fragility and the potential of the human spirit. Consider the addict who finds the courage to break free not through simple willpower but through reflection, community, and purpose. Their struggle embodies the philosophical truths of human existence, that freedom is never given but must be claimed. That desire is not inherently evil but must be understood and directed. That suffering can either destroy or illuminate the path to self-understanding. Addiction, then, is more than a habit or a disease. It is a lens through which we can explore the deepest questions of what it means to live as a human being. Ultimately, the philosophy of addiction confronts us with uncomfortable but essential questions. What does it mean to be free when our choices are constrained by our own minds? How do we reconcile desire with reason, pleasure with pain, suffering with meaning? How do we cultivate a life of purpose in a world filled with temptation, emptiness, and uncertainty? Addiction forces us to confront our limitations, our fragilities, and our possibilities. It is a mirror reflecting the tension at the heart of human existence, revealing both the darkness and the potential for redemption. To understand addiction philosophically is to engage with the very essence of being human, the struggle to reconcile who we are with who we wish to become, to navigate desire without being enslaved by it, and to find meaning even when the world seems devoid of it. In this sense, addiction is not merely a story of loss or failure, it is a story of human vulnerability, resilience, and the eternal pursuit of freedom, purpose, and self-understanding.